All right. So the next project that I want to demo is about sending notifications based on a date field value. So we had a question from Denmark actually, and Anna's on the call, so that's nice that she was able to join us all the way from Denmark. She has a project where she is sending out multiple surveys 3 times a day for 21 days, I believe. And they have to be scheduled. So they just can't be random. They have to be sent at a specific time, the 3 times during the day, every day. And she was having an issue with scheduling those. So while I was working on that with her, and it was kind of a perfect storm of questions because I'm still trying to figure out how to send a birthday notification for people like once a year based on their birth date. And I'm like 90% there, but there's other issues that keep popping up. But while I was investigating that, because the issue is that you can't, REDCap didn't have a way of sending a notification on a specific date. Like you could either do it when the alert was triggered, or you would have to, there was kind of a scheduling thing, but you couldn't use a date value from your project. Like you would have to set the date in the notification itself. But I noticed recently, and I'm not sure if this is a newer addition, it might be, but now when you go into a notification, you have this option down here that just says send the alert after X number of days, hours, or minutes after a certain field value, and then you can pick a field value. So that's kind of what I was doing with the birthday notification. And that was what we were trying to do with her, because she could trigger the values initially once she had her logic set up to where if they watched an enrollment video and then completed that set the triggering in motion to schedule for all of the surveys. And then she could just go in and set the timing for those. But I'm going to back up a little bit here. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is just setting a notification based on a field date. So what I have here is just an enrollment date, just to give me a date value. And then I'm just using a 30-day follow-up date. And for this, I'm using the calc date function, which is really handy. So I'm just saying I want this to be 30 days in the future. So the calc date is really nice because you can put in, I want it, X number of years, X number of months, X number of days. And these are how you set it up. You put the fields you want as your base, what the offset is that you want, and then what units. So if I wanted months, I would put an M, and if I wanted years, I'd put a Y. It's in the action tags here, and it's got a lot of information here to go through how to do it. And it says here that if a month is actually, a year is actually 365.2425, and a month is roughly 30.44. So if I wanted a 1 month follow-up instead of 30 days, I would just change this to 1 and M. So that would automatically, because 30 days from now is not February 11th. I think it's like February 10th or February 9th, something like that, because of the offsets. But anyway, so that we have videos on the calc date function on the website as well. So I'm just setting up a day for that. And then I just have a value down here that's just letting me schedule my notifications. So if we go to add a record here, and I'm just going to pick today, and you can see here that, yeah, it is the 10th of February. And I'm going to trigger this to send notifications because I have that in my alert here. So I set up a notification that once this field, this instrument is saved, I'm checking to make sure that the enrollment date isn't blank and that notifications are yes. And then down here, instead of sending it immediately, I'm sending it based on the 30-day value. So I want it to be sent immediately after that 30-day value hits. But if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to send it at noon, I would just do 12 hours because this, it defaults to midnight. So depending on where you want to send it, or if you wanted it to be 12:30, or if you wanted it to be a day after or a week after even, you could put 7 days, 0 hours, 0 minutes. So I'm just gonna have it send scheduling for midnight on this value. So it'll pick up, REDCap will pick up anything that has a date value as the I believe it picks up anything that has a date validation. So they'll show up here. And this option is it's asking you if you want to send it based on the time of a field from that instrument. And if I had multiple instruments, it basically creates a group of these fields for every instrument you have, and basically organizes all your date fields that way. So this would say, or based on the time value of a field from this instrument, and then it has your dates. And then if I had another instrument, it would repeat that with the instrument name and then the dates for that instrument. So I just have it set to be sent just once, and then just a quick notification, nothing interesting there. So if we go back to the record here, and I have the date, there's a date field, and it says scheduled notification. So I'm going to save. And if we go back to the notifications here and I look at the notification log, I have a notification that's being scheduled for February 10th at midnight. So that's kind of the basis of that. Does anybody have any questions so far? All right. So the next thing is if I have, so like in the notifications here, what I did was, this is where Anna's project comes in. She has morning, evening, morning, afternoon, and evening, and hers are for 21 days. I just did 2. So if we go into the project, it's similar to the first notification that I had just scheduled. But now what I'm doing is I'm sending it 1 day and 8 hours later. So it's going to send at 8 in the morning, 1 day after. And I just have, day 1 morning test. That way I could see that they're being scheduled properly. And so this one is for day 1 morning. It's 1 day, 8 hours after. Day 1 afternoon is 14 hours after. I can't remember her actual timing, so I guesstimated. She has her own project, so that this isn't from hers, but this is just 8 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and then 10 at night. So this is going to run 1 day and 20 hours after. Day 2 morning is going to run 2 days, 8 hours after, 2 days, 14 after, and then 2 days, 20 hours after. So if I go back to this original record, I have it set. That's the other thing. Let me show you here. I have another field that I'm checking the branching logic for here, just so they're 2 separate notifications. This one is for the daily notification, so I had that set to yes. That way, when I was doing the demo here, it didn't automatically schedule them for you. So here now I want to schedule my daily notifications. If I hit save. Now, if we go back to the notification log, you can see here if I sort by, well, it's on the 1 record here. So you can see now this was the first one. And now I have 112 at 8 a.m., 112 at 2 p.m., 112 at 8 p.m., and then 113, 8 a.m., 113, 2 p.m., and 113, 8 p.m. So for her, she would bill all the notifications, and then she would, once they've done the video, all 63 of their notifications would be scheduled, and then they would just go out incrementally, whenever they're set. And so you're basing it off of 1 value, because she was having the problem where if they missed one, originally when she scheduled them or set them up, each next notification was based off the previous notification. But if they missed one of the surveys, it wouldn't trigger the following survey. So this way she could trigger it from the initial record, of them watching the enrollment video and saving that, and then get them all scheduled. So if they missed, if she sent out, if one of these notifications got sent out and they missed it, then it doesn't affect any of the following notifications. So, if they miss it and then they get their evening one, then they can continue on like nothing ever happened. And she has some interesting requirements for her project and timelines and things. So this was just basically how to set your notifications using a date value instead of hard coding the dates in your alerts, because you can do that here. So you have to send it on an exact date. But the problem is everybody's signing up at different times. You don't know when they're, and it's like this locks it in for everybody. If I put this in for today, then everything's getting sent out today, no matter who, when they enrolled and that kind of thing. And this allows it to be more fluid based on data as a participant is entering their information, and it gives you more flexibility. Does anybody have any questions about that?
That's really nice. That's thank you for thinking about it, and yes, and doing this improvement in my life, actually. I'm
Yeah,
wondering if one of the things that I was wondering is about our conversation previously, because we had this 20 minutes time frame that I want to do that randomly, and I didn't understood completely your mail, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about what are you thinking, and if you think that this is the solution for this problem, and then I can use the minutes anyway. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, um, when we met the other day, we were talking about having to generate the actual time value, because the value that's being stored in the database here is just, it's a date. And when we met, we thought maybe that we would have to figure out how to add the time value so that REDCap would know where to start from when it does the calculations. But my email this morning was that it automatically defaults to midnight, and that's one of the reasons I created this notification. That when I leave the values as 0, it
Yeah.
automatically puts it in as midnight. So if you have to do your calculations, you don't have to do that the concatenation and
I
add the
see.
time to it to for the initial value. So like if this is the value that they finished
Yeah.
the video, because we were talking that like if they finished the video at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m., then we wanted to roll the clock back to midnight so you could start your calculations from there.
Yeah.
And we may have to build a field that combine the date and the time, or that let you create a date time value with midnight. But I found out when I was building this that just by having the date here, it automatically defaults to midnight. So when you go through and do your calculations for all of your alerts, you
Yeah.
just have to put in the hours and the days and then just leave the minutes at 0. And I'm not sure because when you sent me your CSV,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And let me open it up here. So on the notification send time, I noticed that your minutes are kind of random here, like 46, 48, 25,
Yeah.
70. So I thought maybe you left that minute value blank and REDCap is just filling it in.
Yeah.
So if you put 0 in it, then it should automatically default to 0. So that way, and that was the other thing I checked here. So these are all at on the hour in the alert.
Yeah.
And the alert, I just made sure that all of the values were 0 for the minutes.
Okay. Yeah,
And
maybe this is the reason that the things weren't working. properly.
Yeah, I think, I thought that that might have been the issue when it skipped your, because you were like, it was like day 14, 15, 16, and then it skipped to like day 18.
Yeah,
I thought maybe with the random minutes, it pushed it over to like the next day. So then, but your timing, your hours weren't close to the end of the day. I think it was like 10 o'clock or something.
yeah.
And so the
There is
minute,
not is not enough minutes to
yeah. So I wasn't sure about that, but I thought maybe if you had set the minutes to 0, it would fix it. Um, and what's weird is when you did the scheduling again, it scheduled them all correctly, and I'm not sure how the minutes were still this way. So
yeah, I'm gonna try.
yeah. And what I did here and what you probably have done too is I created the 3 for the day, and then I just, instead of building them again, I just copied them.
Yeah,
And so I did day 2 morning based off of day 1 morning and that kind of thing. And if you have it all set, you could also export it as the CSV, and then you could do it all in Excel and then upload them. Sometimes
I
that
tried
works.
a few times and I couldn't do that, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But yeah, this
Like
is another subject.
if you do that, you would have to make sure you delete the ones that are already built, because REDCap, I think, will complain about that, because you're essentially uploading new alerts.
Ah, could be a reason.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, and this is an interesting thing, because I'm still working on this for the birthday notification, because I have another project here, and let's see, too many demo projects. So what I'm trying to do here is send out a birthday notification based on the person's uh, date of birth, but for this year. So originally we were trying to do um, like before this was in the alerts. Before we were able to send things like this, the way we did scheduling notifications would be to use the date diff function, because you're basically saying, don't, like, the logic would be true here. So let's see what my field is. It's FUP 30 day. So what we would do is we would do a date diff, and then we would do today, and then like this. Because we're basically saying only send this out when the value for today equals the value for the 30 day. And REDCap checks the date diff. It runs date diff, I think, 4 times a day or every 15 minutes or something like that. So it's constantly checking to see if it lines up. And
Mm.
then it would fire whenever this matched. But this is kind of clunky and doesn't really work all the time. So this would be a better way to do it, because you're able to pick the field and then set your times here. And I was trying to do that with the birthday notification. Um, and so what I'm doing here in this project is I have their birth date, and then I'm calculating their birth date for this year. So if we go to the records, so if I was born today, but like, in the year 2000, it's generating the birth date for this year. So this is what my birth date would be this year. And the way it's doing that is with the calc text. And what I'm doing is I'm using the concatenate function. So I'm saying if the date of birth has a value, give me the left value of that, add a dash, give me the middle value starting at the 4th character, because you have the 2 characters for the month, and then a slash or a dash, and then the 4th character is the starting of the day. And I want those 2. And then I'm just appending 2024 to the end of it with a dash. There's another way to do this, which oddly enough seems more intuitive, but was causing problems. There's a way to do so. there's new functions in REDCap, the special functions here that are for dates and times. So if I instead of, because what I'm doing is I'm taking the date as a string and I'm saying, give me these left two characters, these middle characters, these right characters. But really I want the month, day, and year. So this is how I originally built it, using these new functions to return the month value, the date value, and the year value. But for some reason, REDCap was switching the values when I was putting them in. So if I do month, and then I want a dash, and then I want day, and then I don't need the year because I'm putting the year in. So if I put, I'll just do this as today. You can see here that this is giving me the correct value, and this is what I thought was working. But for some reason, when I was scheduling the notification, it would send the note. It would schedule the notification for 11:01. So it was swapping the day and the month when I was using these day values, or these date values. So I ended up just grabbing the value from the string. I even tried to go into the designer and change this to day, month, year to see if it would, if REDCap was switching them, if I changed it from month, day, year to day, month, it would switch back. But for some reason, it would just stay the same. But the problem went away when I added when I just did it with left, mid, and the date. But the weird thing is, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because we just saw that if I have a notification here, if I set up the time values and the date values, it works perfectly. It sets them up, they're scheduled, and they stay there. Where the problem I'm running into with this is it will schedule it, but then it sends it out automatically. And I'll show you. So if I go to the alerts, and I think this might just have something to do with the calc text, I'm not sure. I have here, I'm just sending this if birthday notification equals yes, and I want to send it out immediately after this birth date value. So similar to the first notification that we had here, where I'm sending it based on the 30-day, and you can see here, this is automatically scheduling it for 30 days. It's the exact same setup, but I'm using that calculated birth date field instead of instead of the calc date field. So if I cancel this, if I just go back to this and I save this, I set this for yes, and save and stay, and we go to the notifications, let's see, which value was that? So record 22, and we can see that record 22 hasn't shown up on here. And I'm not sure why.
Did you get the save? I don't think you saved it.
Oh, did I save it?
I mean, you tried, but I think maybe you didn't get it.
Oh, there we go. So you can see now that it's listed in the notification log. If I go to it, it shows that it's going to go out 111. It's going to go out right now, 111, 2024, 143. And if I go
Instead of the
back,
124.
and if I go back, it's here now. It's saying that it was sent, and then I just received it, and this is the record number. So even though it's using the same logic, everything is set up the exact same way, it's not using, there's something going on with the scheduling because of the only difference is this is a calc date, or sorry, calc text. And maybe if I change this to a calc date, let's see if that fixes it. Because that would be nice. Let's see. I think I need to do another record since these are set to,
Only once.
yep. Oh, and see now it's not giving me, it's not calculating the date. Because the calc date, and I should have thought about that. The calc date needs the
Needs to be a date.
yeah, it needs to be, well, it needs to be a date, but it also needs to be the format here is that you put the date. Oh, you know what? Let me try that. Let me see if I can just jam the date in there and then just set it to 0. Wonder if it has to be a date or if it can just be a value. If not, if it can't be a date or if it can't be a value like this, what I think the next thing is to just generate this date and then have another field that converts it to a date. I don't know. REDCap is weird. Sometimes it works really intuitively and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, so it's not gonna like
Oh,
that. Oh,
doesn't
wait,
like it.
problem of the extra dash. Weird. Oh, I think it's taking that as the, I think I don't have enough.
No, it doesn't look like it's picking up the left and the right, or the left and the mid at all. It's just getting your dash and your dash 2024.
Yeah. So let me put that back. And then I'll just add another field. Let's see, hold on.
Birth date 3.
Was that
Two,
one?
rather.
Oh, birthday 2024 was that one.
I thought it was 3.
Let's check. No, it's birthday 2024.
Oh, okay.
Where'd my,
But I thought you added a new one. You're on the wrong form, an old form.
am I?
Yep. Go to the next one over, in the middle of those two.
This was an entry.
Well, I don't know where it went. I swear it was in there.
Let's call it birthday date. And this one was,
No,
yeah, see, it doesn't like that. Interesting. All right. Well, and that's the problem I'm having with the birthday notification is having to generate the date. And it's like I'm 90% there because I can schedule them, but I'm not sure why they're getting sent out automatically, even though the date values, because I even exported these the data that I had messed with, and these are being stored correctly as dates, and they're in the future. So I don't know why REDCap when it's doing the scheduling is automatically applying them. Anyway, that might be something I figure out by next week for you guys. But I'm glad we were able to help Anna and Carrie. And if you guys have any more questions, anything else?
I really
have
like
one.
your solutions.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have one thing that I was wondering, and I think there is, at least for me, an update on the notification, not the notifications, but the, let me see if I find the right name. When I go to project setup, I see this enable optional models and customizations, and I see a first topic calling repeating instruments and events.
Mhm.
And when I enable it, I see some differences that I'm not sure if you are familiar with, but it's something that happened between, I think, few days ago, because before was quite different. And what I'm seeing here is that I can enable repeat entire event or
Yeah.
repeat instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Do you
are
know the
you,
difference?
yeah, are you familiar with the repeatable instruments?
Yes.
Okay. So let me just create another instrument here. So if we go to the project setup and go to repeating instruments, so you set these,
Yeah.
and then so yours, oh, do you have events on you have events on yours, right?
Yeah.
That's okay, that's the thing. So let me go to longitudinal here and see if I have
Uh,
an
yeah.
event or yeah.
But maybe you
So
have to create yeah.
yeah. So in here now, if I set my instruments and set these up, what it's doing is it's giving you the option to just do one repeating instrument. So if I want just an instrument, like for example, if within this event they're going to have multiple like weight logs, right? So every day they're going to put their weight in and it's going to be a new instance. What I want is this one. So if this was the weight log, I would just want this one as a repeating instance, not this one. But
Mm,
if every time they were to do something, I wanted it to be repeated, all the instruments, then I want this.
okay.
So we save this and go back to the dashboard. This is the difference, is that I can enter, so we'll just say save.
Instances.
Yeah, so I'm saving an instance of this one here, just the test. And so you can see here, this one doesn't have any additional
Yeah.
instances, but this one does. And now if I go here and save it, and then now if I go back to the dashboard, when I have an instance, I think I have to add a new instance for the whole, it basically adds for the record here.
Yeah.
So we see here where it says event one, and I
new,
just have this one to add. So I can add a new
Yeah.
instance here. This one, I have to add an instance of the entire thing. So it's going to give me an instance of these two forms together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the difference. If you want all your instruments to repeat together, or if you want just one to have repeatable instances within an event.
I see. That's interesting. It would be good for me in a case if I had the fixed time. So I have just one notification, one time of notification in different days. But since I have different times, this I should repeat the entire event anyway. I think.
Yeah, it depends on how your project is set up. One of the things we do is that instead of doing repeatable events like this, sometimes is we set up new events. Sometimes
Yeah.
we do it that way, but the only reason you would do this is if within one event you're gonna have multiple repeating groups.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what I did, I created 63 events.
Okay, because you could, depending on how you want to do it, you could do 21 events, one for each day, and then have 3 repeating instances. The problem though is getting those instances created, because here you have to create the instances manually, and so having 3 instances, it might be more difficult to create 3 instances every time. You'd have to go in and do that ahead of time versus if you have if you have 63
You can
events.
use the smart variable here, and you can use the code new instance that it created automatically. At least that's what I.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just if you want to do that and have them created automatically for the 3, or if you want to, because
Yeah.
for every record, if you had 60, like if you had each day, and so morning, afternoon, evening, day 1, day 2, day 3, like that. If each one of those, day 1 morning was an event, day 1 afternoon was an event. If you have those all as events, anytime
Mhm.
you create a record, all of those events get created automatically. So that's how you have it now. Whereas if you have day 1 as an event, and then you have your instances as morning, afternoon, and
Mhm.
evening, then there's just a little more work to try to create those, because then
Yeah.
basically what your record, it creates all 21 days, but then you have to make sure that it's also creating the 3 instances. The other thing too is when you use instances and events, you have to be more specific when you're doing branching logic, because you have to put in what event that you're asking for, depending on which field you're using. So for example, if you have a field like, so your enrollment video, if that video is its own event and it's only about and it's just one value, REDCap is usually fine just taking the field value. But if there's a possibility that that could have multiple instances, then you have to specify which instance or which event. So REDCap
Mhm.
knows exactly what value you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it just gets a little more convoluted when you use events and instances. So it just depends on how you set it up.